The movie begins in 2024 when the political order shakes around the Korean peninsula. A great war over territorial disputes broke out between China, Japan, and South Korea, causing Japan to remilitarize with the United States and Russia. Fearing the possibility of war, North and South Korea agreed to reunify for survival, with a 5-year interim put in place to prepare for reunification and minimize repercussions. However, the region's great powers, the United States, China, Japan, and Russia, fear the emergence of a strong, unified Korea, pushing back against reunification. Later, significant tariffs were imposed upon both countries, creating an economic depression and weakening public support for reunification. As general welfare disintegrated, social unrest began to spread, and anti-government protests became increasingly violent. This chaos resulted in a domestic terror group known as the sect forming to break the reunion and puts the provisional government in crisis. The terrorists have great numbers and weaponry, which troubles the police. On the other hand, with the existing police force unable to cope with the sect, the government formed a police squad called the Special Unit to fight the sect. However, an incident known as Bloody Friday happened when the Special Unit killed 15 innocent girls during an operation. The incident incited rage among the people and haunted the unit with guilt. Meanwhile, the incident traumatized the Special Unit, causing them to hide their faces behind steel helmets to protect their identities. Despite the condition, they retained the unit to keep the sect in check. In addition, they have to fight the sect and the Public Security Department, which wants to take over the country's security. 5 years later, a protest occurs, but the police find it hard to determine if there are sect in there or just ordinary protesters. Moments later, the sect arrives, camouflaging from the protesters, and starts a riot at Gwanghwamun Square, using powerful bombs, automatic rifles, and fire to overwhelm the police. After a while, the unit arrives at the scene with their commanding officer, Special Unit Captain Park Mu-young. Park then instructs them that this is the sect's last hideout, so he wants them to hunt them down to the last man. Then, he divides the Special Unit into 2 groups. Lim Jung-kyung leads one team, and Kim Chol-jin leads another backup group. They then manage to make the sect fall back. Despite the sect's effort to escape, the unit hunts them down to their last hideout. On the other hand, the sect is preparing innocent children to commit suicide bombings. After realizing the unit is near, they try to escape through the water tunnel. Later, the 2 opposing parties meet, and a gunfight breaks out. The unit defends itself effortlessly with its special armor and wipes them out within minutes. On the other hand, Lim is looking for the remaining members but finds an innocent girl instead. Reminded of his guilt, he puts down his gun and wants the girl to give up the bomb. However, as more soldiers join in, the girl panics and blows herself up. Although the soldiers survive, Lim shows shock by the incident. After the encounter, the Special Unit arrives at its headquarters. Mu-young and the Chief Presidential Secretary, Park Jong-gi, are listening to the news about the incident, worsening the unit's reputation. The government says that it requires further investigation. Therefore, until the fact-finding committee issues its final report, Lim and Squadron 1 will undergo re-education. They also announced that they would temporarily suspend the Special Unit's activities. Meanwhile, Mu-young thinks that the Public Security Department decided the suspension and further investigation. On the other hand, Park asks Jang Jin-tae, the Special Unit training officer, about Lim. Jang replies that Lim didn't sustain any significant injuries. Park then thinks of using Lim as a scapegoat by blaming it on his past, which Jang and Mu-young oppose because it will affect the other men's morale. After their conversation, they hear the public security arriving at their headquarters. Then, Park goes out using a back exit with Jang. Later, Han Sang-woo, a former unit member who became a department ranking officer, approaches Jang. Han tells Jang he has no choice but to be in charge of the Public Security Committee. Then, Han asks about Lim, to which Jang says that he hasn't seen him after the incident. As they walk outside, Han continues asking about Lim's state of mind because he knows how Bloody Friday affected him. Jang then says that if there's a human, there's a beast too. Meanwhile, Lim is exercising, and a nurse comes to remove the staples on his injury. The nurse then tells him that Han is there to see him. When he asks Han why he came back there, Han says that he went to the crime scene and found documents in the space between the walls. Han gives him the innocent girl, Lee Jae-hee's, diary. He asks him to return it to her family, specifically her older sister, Lee Yun-hee. Han then tells him she entered the sect after joining a high school history club. He adds that she was a high school sophomore Red Riding Hood in charge of delivering bombs. Later that night, Lim opens the diary and reads what's inside when he sees photos of Lee Jae-hee's sister tucked inside. The next day, he attends his training. Despite his effort, he can't focus since his guilt shadows him, causing Jang to hit him during their training and telling him to snap out of it. After that, he calls Yun-hee and tells her that he has some of Jae-hee's things from the day she died. Then, he secretly escapes their camp and meets Yun-hee that night at the Namsan Tower. Lim initially feels guilty, but to his surprise, Yun-hee doesn't hate him for her sister's death. She tells him how her sister joining the sect destroyed her family and says she can't blame him for her death. She adds that he didn't even shoot her, they were opponents on different sides. After getting their order, Lim asks her if she goes there often. She then tells him she just happened to be nearby since she's running a bookshop owned by his late father. Then she thanked him for giving her the diary since she had thrown almost her things. Later, she points out where her bookstore is, in Sengsudong. Yun-hee then asks him if he wants to go, besides, she knows a good noodle place. Meanwhile, Jang checks the room of the soldiers and finds that Lim isn't there. On the other hand, Yun-hee and Lim go to the noodle place. On their way to the bookstore, they develop feelings toward one another. Inside, Lim discovers a poster of Little Red Riding Hood, and Yun-hee tells him she saw a puppet show of Little Red Riding Hood, but a version without a happy ending. Later that night, when Lim leaves, Yun-hee doesn't go home but meets Han in the street near her bookshop. Han then asks him how Lim is, and she says he seems ordinary. It turns out that Yun-hee is a former member of the sect, and Han orders her to trap Lim for state security. He demands she does it in exchange for the remission of her prison sentence and an operation for her sick brother. He says that Lim seems to like him, so he orders her to stay like that and use every method necessary. Alternatively, the department's director and Han meet with the police commissioner, Kim Myung-bae, at a salon. Myung-bae talks about the situation with the special unit. The department's director supervises the plan and presumes that Lim is a member of the Wolf Brigade, a group within the special unit that wants to protect the unit's objective. The director claims that the Wolf Brigade is the one who killed Director Yu last year and shot Oh and Park from the prosecutor's office. According to him, his sources say it's a secret assassination team targeting corrupt power. Despite that, the director says he doesn't know who commands it and can only assume it's part of the special unit. However, Myung-bae says that there's no corruption in them and that they're patriots. But the director says that if the Wolf Brigade thinks they're in the way, they will use any excuse to kill them. Therefore, he suggests developing a scandal they won't be able to brush off. The next day, a member of the unit stalks Gu Mi-kyung, who's a sect member. There, she confronts Yun-hee for her betrayal of becoming the department spy, which turns out that Yun-hee is also a sect member. She then explains that she became the department spy to pay her brother's medical bills. Despite her words, Mi-kyung doesn't believe Yun-hee and leaves. Upon leaving, she realizes someone is following her and tries to escape. However, the unit member overpowers her and captures her. In the interrogation room, Jang explains that the department has funded the sect to stir chaos and push the special unit to the edge. He also persuades her to conspire against the sect, to which she only agrees if she gets a new identity after the operation. Meanwhile, Lim is meeting with Yun-hee for the second time. The department has bugged his phone and sent out a team to capture him. Lim then sees that state security agents are present in the area. Despite realizing the situation, he calmly follows the game and acts like everything's normal. Later, Yun-hee goes to the bathroom and readies herself to trap Lim, as Han has planned. Han also gave her a tracking device to ensure her safety. Despite the scenario, Mi-kyung suddenly confronts Yun-hee and leaves. Mi-kyung's interference thwarts the plan, and Lim easily overpowers the team. The significant number of the department's units doesn't affect Lim's success in fighting back. After that, he also saves Yun-hee, who the department chases for failing the mission. When they're about to leave, a weaponized drone comes and shoots at them. However, Lim easily handles the drone, too, and they escape successfully. They then run to the parking lot and steal a car to run away. When they're about to escape, Han appears and crashes into them. Han then asks him to surrender, but Lim declines. Lim then reveals that he knows that Yun-hee is his spy, and they're scheming to trap him. Hearing this, Han is startled and lets his guard down, so Lim and Yun-hee escape. Jang then instructs them to hide. However, they can't get there because state security caught and killed the soldiers supposed to take them there. So, the new instruction is to go into the sewers together with Yun-hee. After they reach the sewers, Jang orders Lim to turn Yun-hee in. Yet, Lim pities her and offers her to escape and save herself. However, she declines since there are no safe places for her. After spending some time together, Yun-hee regrets her decision to deceive Lim. She says she's beginning to fall for him and asks him to run away together, but Lim doesn't respond. After a while, Jang calls Lim to reaffirm that he must turn in Yun-hee. Hearing that, Yun-hee decides to turn on the tracking device that Han gave her, causing him to track her and deploy the special ops team to capture Lim. Once again, Yun-hee regrets her action of trapping Lim and shows him the tracking device. However, Lim calmly continues his plan to meet Jang. Then, Jang arrives at the scene and reveals that he has been using Yun-hee to bait the department. He also confirms that Lim is one of the Wolf Brigade who wants to eradicate corruption within the department. Lim is equipped with special armor and deliberately uses the tracking device to lure the enemies. One by one, the teams are taken down by Lim. He kills them swiftly and without mercy. On the other hand, as a last resort, Han deploys the special ops and enters the fight equipped with heavy weapons that are more advanced than the other team's weaponry. Despite their equipment, Lim doesn't even flinch and fights back. Later, he continues to massacre the special ops until Han is the only one left. A shootout breaks out between him and Han, resulting in Han's severe injury. Han tries to escape but meets a dead end along the way. So Lim offers to be saved, but Han declines and shoots Lim. As a result, he retaliates and shoots Han to death. Finally, the Wolf Brigade wipes out the department's force. Then, Jang brings Yun-hee for execution. Lim suddenly appears to save her after the preparation and tries to talk Jang out of it. Seeing his disciple's disobedience, he hands the gun to Lim and orders him to commence the execution. He asks Yun-hee why she didn't escape when she had the chance, but she says that she loves him and only wants to run away together. On the other hand, Jang hears that Lim hasn't executed Yun-hee yet, so he's enraged and confronts him for his disloyalty. Then, a fight between two Wolf Brigades is fierce and tense since both are well trained and equipped with special equipment. The battle ends when Lim decides to leave the special unit due to Jang's cold-hearted orders. Later, they bring the department scandal to the public, and the police capture the director. Then, North and South Korea will then hold a summit to resume the reunification talk. Not long after, Yun-hee and his brother escape to another place to live a peaceful life together. The movie ends with them inside the train, passing through Lim, who's standing outside. Thank you for watching. Subscribe for more videos like this to help the channel out. Have a nice day.